Hurricane Helene has just made an absolute mess.
Next thing we know, it busted. It just wiped the whole city out.
We're seeing bridges out, completely gone.
My expectation is even in events like this that are the worst thing that can happen, it sometimes brings out the best in people.
The higher the altitude you go, the smaller the overhang you can put on a house because of the sail effect. I think the biggest problem we have here is somebody from Florida comes and buys a house 5 years later, they're gone.
You're either learning or earning. You can't do both.
It doesn't take all that much more to go first class.
They won't allow you to build it because your engineer is not meeting 160 mile an hour wind loads.
A lot of states don't have requirements for their general contractors, and it's something that we need.
Welcome to Beers with Contractors.
All right, tradies, it's another week on Beers with Contractors. A little bittersweet episode this week. Obviously, many of you know that I'm from the mountains of North Carolina, and Terry, you're, of course, from the great state of Florida. And our guest today, I've always wanted to have on as a guest, and I hope to have him on again. But obviously, the circumstances are a little different. But our guest today is actually my father, Mr. Randy Blake, owner of Randy Blake Carpentry and Construction. And he is also part of his own radio show and podcast called All About Home Construction. It's actually number 4 best construction podcasts is listed on FeedSpot. So, but the reason we're going to have him on today is, as many of you know, Hurricane Helene has just made an absolute mess of just Georgia, the Carolinas, Florida, everything. And of course, where we grew up and where my father lives is in Boone, North Carolina, which is about an hour and a half north of Asheville. So, but Pop, good to see you. Hate it's under such weird circumstances. How are you and Mom doing out there?
Pretty good. Now we can come and go out of town now. Unlike Friday, we were coming to town, and so we was going to 421, and there was a big mudslide up the top of the gap.
Mm-hmm.
So I cleared it out. Or what I did was, I said, I'll go back in and get my tractor, and I'll clean this out, see y'all go through. But I said, the trees are blocking the road down below the house, and there was 3 carloads of Latinos, and Frank Bolick was behind them. And I said, where you guys going? They're saying, South Carolina, we got to get home. And I said, I can't get through those trees that are down. And they said, we got chainsaws. I said, if you got chainsaws, I can push the trees till I run out of fuel. I pushed all the way to Daisy Ridge.
Wow.
About 2.5 miles. And they were in front of me cutting trees. And I got them through.
Well, I know everybody's sort of seen on, if anybody's even attached to any social media, they're seeing the damage out there. But, take us through it a little bit, Pop, because I know this really started to hit you guys hard on Friday, right?
Yeah. We really didn't think we were going to get it that bad. And, surviving Hugo the way it was when it hit, we figured, well, we lived through that. We can do this one. But this one I've heard we got as much as 31 inches of rain between Thursday and Saturday. And, Western North Carolina, not necessarily Asheville, but a lot of our roads are not in the greatest condition. And a lot of the culverts are as old as I am.
Mm-hmm.
So where they've rusted out over the years, they just cut the roads out.
Yeah. Well, obviously this recording comes out on Thursdays, but just so everybody's aware, we're speaking on Monday, September 30th. So just given the conditions, I know that Boone, Bakersville, Chimney Rock, all the way down to Asheville, like everybody's getting there's still folks stranded, things like that. So just in hometown there, have you been able to get a hold of folks? I mean, tell me a little bit about what's going on.
Well, we only have
people.
Internet service only in town of Boone and cell phone. Mm-hmm. Once you get out of the city, we don't have anything. So don't have any idea if we've lost anybody in Watauga County. As I was coming in on the news, they said that they thought right now in Asheville, they've lost about 100 people. Last thing I heard was there was an engineer said the dam on Lake Lure was going to hold. Next thing we know, it busted. And that's what wiped out Chimney Rock. It just wiped the whole city out, the whole town, I guess.
Yeah, I was talking with my family down in Florida, and some of them said this is the worst storm they've ever been through.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, it's worse than Hugo was. And to give you an idea, now Will knows Beards Creek in front of the house there, and it moved Beards Creek over 30 foot.
Yeah, and for those that, of course, we've got listeners in the Carolinas, so they know where Boone is. But for reference, Boone is really in the northwestern corner of the Carolinas, where Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina all meet. I know that you've just been working between Boone and obviously Vilas, where you live. But have you been able to get out in any other areas to help anybody or see, what the rest of the county looks like? I know Facebook obviously tells a big story, but man alive, it I know pictures don't give it justice.
Well, this is the first time in my life that 421 got washed out there at
Wow.
Vilas. And there, Brushy Fork Church, the bank straight off. 105, 2 lanes of 105 below New River Building Supply got wiped out.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of water. And, people aren't allowed to clean the creeks out like they used to do. So a lot of debris. Me and your mom was watching trees go down the creek. Well, the whole creek was, I posted this. We had kayaking weather there at the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have to text you a picture of Albert's Field where there's a cooler up the bank where the water got about 20 foot high.
Wow. Well, and I know you've got a few broken down boats in the driveway, Pop. Were you able to use any of those? Sorry, I had to make a jab.
Well, we still got a canoe. That would have been a little easier. So
My guess is y'all are going to be strapped on supplies down that way. Probably don't have that many to start with in terms of home improvement stores and stuff like that. And I bet everything's picked clean.
I'll send Will some texts because I tried to get to my bank on Friday morning at 8:30, and I was pushing water with my truck, and my collision alarm on the front was going off. And I backed up and turned around, and the camera was still on, and I was pushing a wave across 321. Lowe's was flooded out. Walmart was flooded out. Somebody posted a picture of Burger King, the bridge underneath there, and I thought it was 2 dumpsters, but one was a dumpster and the other was a Jeep.
Wow. Yeah, I've been seeing tons of pictures where vehicles are just being washed. They were being picked up essentially through the parking lots and pushed through down the river. Speaking of building supplies, because I know that, you being a former kind of board member at the Home Builders Association there, that there's really not a lot of building supplies and everybody knows each other pretty well. You mentioned New River Building Supply before. Like, how are they doing?
Well,
You know,
it pushed lumber through their parking lot, through the fence.
Yeah.
Boone Rim all got flooded out. It got everybody.
Have you gotten a chance to see much of anything in downtown? I know seeing pictures of downtown Boone flooding, that most of those buildings have basements and businesses and restaurants underneath them, things like that. Have you gotten any word on what that looks like?
No, Jamie's talked to Catherine, but she hadn't said anything because she has a couple stores that has basements in them, and that's the first time I've ever seen water going down King Street about 8 inches deep. And I sent you a couple texts there, or pictures, Will. That one, if you blow it up, it looks fuzzy. That's the tail light of a car in a Walmart parking lot.
Wow. I haven't gotten it yet, but I know cell phone service has been real spotty there. Heck, I'm surprised we can even get you on the phone here or on the camera. But yeah, Pop, we were talking the other day, and I'm just glad I got a hold of you, but you're doing something pretty important there because there's still folks that have no ability to communicate. Their cell phone service is spotty. But you're actually cooking meals at the local VFW post. So tell us more about that.
Well, I do a meal monthly anyhow, but we generally do a breakfast the first Saturday of every month. And to support the community this coming Saturday, we'll be cooking our breakfast for free. Anybody that comes in. And there are people that will come in that can afford it, and we're going to ask them for donations, but there are people that will probably be coming in that can't afford it. Right now, everything's down. Every business in town is on cash only. How many people carry cash anymore?
Yeah.
I wonder how many ATM machines are down, because a lot of, especially at ASU coming down Faculty Street, that got flooded out. Kraut Creek backed up, and me and Terry tried to get on the radio station Saturday morning, and there wasn't but 2 of the recording studios that was dry. The rest of the building was about 1/2 inch of mud.
Well,
That's crazy.
my expectation is even in events like this that are the worst thing that can happen, it sometimes brings out the best in people.
It does. And you know what? And it also brings out the worst. Like I said, Jason McGuire come to the house and put 12-gallon of diesel fuel in my tractor so I could go out and help people. But at the same time, he said, I had a guy call me, and how can I get into Boone so I can make some money? And, we're going to start getting the fly-by-nighters coming in. And, most of the fly-by-nighters, y'all had it in Florida
Mhm.
when Andrew come through and tore y'all apart, that flocked down there to build and did such crappy work, and that's going to happen too.
Yeah, and they always seem to take advantage of the ones who can't afford it, or the elderly, or those who need the help the most.
Correct. But if a person is insured, in a construction company, he's got to charge something, or he can't pay his employees to pay his
Mhm.
insurance or pay his operating costs. But this crap about raping people, that's totally uncalled for. Me and your mom tried to stay at the Holiday Inn Friday night, and they wanted $435 a night.
Yeah. And we've been hearing stories of this kind of, I hate to say price gouging, but that's just what it is. Gas station charging $20 for a case of water, things like that. Hotels.
Jason said he paid $20 for a 12-pack of Coke.
Yeah.
I'm going, what? He said,
Yeah.
yeah. I texted you a picture all day in there. Matter of fact, I've already texted it to Raleigh.
Mhm.
After it was $435, the picture it come down to $300 and some $352 for one night.
Well, obviously, this has gone on for several days, and the way the runoff has occurred, we're still seeing pictures on social media and shared. People still trying to even find their family
Mhm.
members because they're not getting responses. But I mean, I'm assuming that everything is kind of it's moved on. The water levels have gone down to where they normally should be, or are you still seeing quite a bit of runoff from just the hills from this last weekend?
No, we're going to have quite a bit of runoff for a while. It actually, it took 24 hours for it to come up, maybe a little longer, but then it took about 5 to 6 hours for it to start going down.
Mm-hmm.
But now, as we came in, it was raining real hard again. So that's going to cause the water to go up. Larry Trivet is one of the veterans here that has a house down on Watauga Lake. And the water level at Watauga Lake was the highest it's been since 1971.
Wow.
In 1971, the water was 6 foot higher than the roots, the exposed roots around the lake. And the water's 6 foot higher there. So Watauga Lake had to let water out. That caused Elizabeth to get flooded, and Sycamore Shoals over there had to close one wing of their hospital because of the water flow.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that I was messaging with Kenneth Reese online, and he mentioned that he actually had to walk 2 miles because his road is completely wiped out, but he made it to a shelter. So where are they starting to set up shelters that folks can go to for food, showers, things like that? Have you seen any of those going in and out of town? Hey, contractors, it's Will. Listen, are you ready to take your business to the next level? I want to introduce everybody to ShipShape AI. It's an AI-powered home monitoring system that keeps your customers' homes running smoothly and gives you the edge over the competition. Imagine being the hero who spots an issue before it turns into a disaster, like a flooded basement or a busted HVAC system. ShipShape's smart sensor alerts you to the problems before they happen so you can swoop in with the solution for your customers. But it's not just about saving the day. ShipShape helps you tap into past customers with tailored marketing campaigns, turning one-time jobs into long-term relationships. Plus, you can grow your maintenance plans and get more follow-up on projects, all while offering your customers a peace of mind that they crave. And the best part, ShipShape's Pro Monitoring service handles the tech support, so you can focus on what you do best, building and maintaining and repairing homes. So in the market where the competition is fierce, now is the time to secure your customers and protect this premium pricing. Learn more at shipshape.ai or click the link in the episode description here. That's shipshape.ai. or you can even call our friends at ShipShape at 205-207-5775. ShipShape, where smart homes meet smart contractors.
Samaritan's Purse is set up on 105 bypass. That's their home church there.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul's daddy actually came to Boone and set up and was distributing food out at First Baptist Church. His church
good.
is. And there's the Methodist Church in Boone. They're at Greasy Corners. You know where it is. Nobody else out there does, but they're dispensing food and stuff. The rec center has showers for people to go to. And Salvation Army beside us have showers. Or no, they have a washing machine so people can wash clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few things that's opening up, but the thing is there's nobody able to use their cell phones because there's no signal.
Yeah. Well, and even today, me trying to contact you, every time I've called, it's essentially gone straight to a Verizon message.
Yeah. And well, about like us trying to get started on this show here, how many times has it kicked us off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had talked about some of the infrastructure. Do you think the aging infrastructure of the community and the systems that y'all have played a part in everything going down as fast as it did, or just overwhelmed?
No, I think the aging of the system too, and another thing too is, now this is my total opinion. If I want to put a road in, the state of North Carolina tells me how big a culvert I got to put in. Okay. If the state of North Carolina puts a road in, they put in what they want to put in, even though, like that engineer saying Lake Lure Dam wouldn't bust. A couple hours later, it busted. And there's not but one true culvert in town, and that's at Troy's Diner, and that's a 10-foot culvert, so it can handle the flow.
Mm-hmm.
But then everybody else puts 2-foot culverts in. And I know they're not cheap, but golly, if it had been a 3-foot instead of a 2-foot, this might not have happened.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm noticing is just talking about the civil engineering, and it's funny, growing up building houses with you, I know there was always a big issue on slope laws and what you can build on and what you can't. And obviously, boy, you think, well, that's, why over-regulating and things like that. And then we see the damage from homes that were built on slopes predating the modern code book now, that it's just, man, it's bad. So
your house that we built for you in Falcon Crest, okay? We built it on post, but we abided by the 45-degree rule to make sure that a footer could not blow a footer out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason that lower post on that one corner was 28 foot tall, even though when we backfilled it is only 15 foot sticking out of the ground.
Yeah.
So it had to be deep enough so it couldn't blow. But then 2016, they took that back out of the code books, or 2012, they took it back out.
Mm-hmm.
Then they put it back in 2018. I've asked the question, because we have to take engineering, we have to take classes. I have to take 10 hours a year in construction. And one of the questions I asked was, when are we going to start building for seismic loads? Well, here in North Carolina, we don't build for seismic in residential. We build wind loads. So the town of Boone now is 130 mile an hour wind load. Well, everything prior to that was a 90 mile an hour wind load. So there's a big difference in construction and stuff like that.
Well,
ASU, Kraut Creek, okay? They bottleneck Kraut Creek coming through, but Kraut Creek's what caused all this damage coming through town.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen that, just all the added kind of runoff and infrastructure that's been put in place there, and it's got nowhere to go, obviously, and it's creating a bigger issue.
There is no storm drains outside the main streets.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to run on the street or run through somebody's yard.
Yeah. So, obviously we're seeing a lot of infrastructure issues pop, but I mean, what are you starting to see movement on there currently with either the city or I just saw a good friend of mine that I graduated high school with. He's moving the reserve, the Army Reserve's coming in, the National Guard. What kind of actions are you starting to see in the short term? And hell, where do they even begin? I mean, it just seems like chaos.
Well, today's the first time I've seen any National Guard trucks. Okay.
So that's been 4 days, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yesterday was the first day I seen a state truck. Today I seen two. I seen a Blue Ridge Energy truck today for the first time. So, I mean, there's parts of the county that are worse than where we had at our house. You know, we had, when they come through, 5-6 years ago, they redid the 3-phase lines, but we have a transformer section at Vanderpool, and then we have a transformers in Houndeers, okay? But they backfeed and they meet down there at Mass Gap. I know you're from Florida, you don't know where all these places are, but the thing about it is when we get, this was all put in for snowstorms, not for rain.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
So if people lose power to Houndeers, they can back charge from Vanderpool and go all the way to Houndeers to that substation, or vice versa.
Yeah, and just for reference, for anybody that doesn't know, Houndeers is kind of squeezed in between the town of Boone and Fosco. And anybody that's got Google can find that, and that's another area that's, been just hit. I mean, there's folks living there in a gated community that can't even get out. It's just wild.
Yeah, one of the members lives in Fosco Campground, and I got a hold of her yesterday, and she said the first run of campers got washed out. So when all those campers are coming down Watauga River, they're jamming up against the trees. I actually believe the water got up high enough that it was on the bridge at Watauga River.
Wow.
With the debris that was on it. Now it could have run down, but see, I wasn't able to get down there to see how high the water got.
Now you're talking about the bridge there in Valley Cruces, right, on Watauga River Road?
Yeah, the big concrete bridge.
Yeah, which is upwards of 15 feet high in normal conditions, or it's a little higher, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little higher. Matter of fact, the 321 bridge, in Cove Creek, it did get to the bridge.
Wow. Well, and that's the other thing is, I mean, obviously we talk about civil engineering a little bit. I mean, we're seeing bridges out, I mean, completely gone. And I mean, have you gotten any idea from just talking to some folks around which bridges are completely gone? Because I know there's not a lot of ways to get to some of these mountain towns.
Well, DeWitt Marnette Bridge is still there, but what it did is it washed out. It generally washes out each end. Okay, Willow Valley, half the bridge is gone down there at the golf course. So we're just hearing spotty stuff from people that's been able to try to get out and get to town. They're texting or putting it on Facebook. Colin Orndorff, he's past commander. They're saying he won't have any electricity for a month.
That's not.
So now he lives up Laurel Creek. Trash Can Falls is gone now. It's no longer there.
By the way, Terry, when we were in high school and college, we used to go swimming at a place called Trash Can Falls. So we kept it classy in the high country.
Seems nice.
Yeah, but that was before the college kids got to trashing it up.
You brought up building to code and some of the code requirements associated with our municipalities. But like when you build to code, you're literally building what is the bare bones requirement.
That's exactly right. You know what I tell people? If I brought my house down to Florida, it'd sink in the sand. I built my first house when I was not a contractor, but the guy I worked for was the guy I started with when I was 14-year-old. Then I moved down to Calabash, North Carolina, and he put me on my first one by myself when I was 21 years old. So every hurricane that's hit Calabash, Myrtle Beach, Wilmington area, that house is still there. And you're correct on that. When you build code, you build minimum. You build junk. How about that?
Well, you're a licensed contractor, correct?
Yeah, I'm a licensed GC.
So at that point, being a licensed general contractor, there's a requirement. There's an education. There's at least something that says that you're going to stand by your work, or they can take something from you.
Well, we try to put a 5-year labor warranty on it, and that's unheard of.
No.
And, we lose a lot of jobs because we're too high. But the point of it is, you can go back and look at our work. Like I said, in 80, when I built that house 2 years ago, it's still there.
Well, a lot of states don't have requirements for their general contractors. Oklahoma's one of them, and it's something that we need because it cuts out some of those fly-by-night people who come in after disasters like this?
Well, I snuck into a house there last time I was there, and I was going, what? You know, I can't believe they got by with some of the stuff we couldn't get by. And, I have to give every contractor hates a building inspector. Okay. But that also turns around and protects a contractor too at the same time. And people don't look at that. And unfortunately, Will's father-in-law got me into the legal system around 2009. So I've been an expert witness now for a while in court.
Yeah. Have you been held in contempt of court at all with your 4-letter words, Pop? And
Believe it or not, never have, but I have stopped court a time or two. So I've got a pretty good track record. I feel like we've not lost any. We've lost one since 2000.
Will, what I don't understand is he seems like a incredibly pleasant and intelligent person, and I don't understand what happened with you.
Took after my mom, I guess. Yeah. Oh man. Well, listen, if you want to, that'll be our next guest. Will be my mom, and boy, she's a firecracker. Hang on tight. Hey,
I have to brag on him. He was 12 years old and he come out on the job and he cut every board and put the siding on the house by himself, board and back.
Yep. $10 a week. So I was good, but I wasn't smart, Terry.
That's all right. The lessons, being farming kids, the lessons that they learn, I believe, is helping them today.
Will, you pay for education? It's just what you pay with.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. You're either learning or earning. You can't do both. And I was definitely doing a lot of learning, but no earning. Hey, now it's rolling over. Hey, this is actually an interesting topic because you mentioned it before, Pop, about Hurricane Andrew. And I'm trying to remember because even in the mountains, they adopted what everybody coins as the Andrew codes. But when was that, and what were some of the changes? Because I remember we were going through it, and I thought it was building a better structure. But boy, nothing can prevent a disaster like this going on. But
well, what they did was when they got to changing the codes was, take up on Beach Mountain, you could build a house with a 4-foot overhang. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, the higher the altitude you go, the smaller the overhang you put on a house because of the sail effect. And that's what they learned in Andrew, that the hurricane wasn't tearing the houses down from the front. It was the vacuum that was tearing them down from behind.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And North Carolina even experimented with putting double like dryer vents in a house. So when the vacuum got to pulling, it'd pull air out of the house. Well, it didn't help. Mm-hmm. And, North Carolina has been putting hurricane clips on and joist hangers and stuff since 87. They really started enforcing the rule in 86, the building codes. Even though it was adopted in 29, they never pushed it. The first house I helped my dad work on when I was 14 years old, the only thing your building permit was for how many receptacles you were going to have in the house.
Yeah.
So every day we was out of school, I had to work. I worked on that house, which that was great. I got to learning, but the building inspection at that time, we built the house before they come looked at the power pole so we could have electricity to build it. And my dad climbed up a telephone pole with a set of jumper cables and hooked the electric lines up to the meter base, and that's how we built that house.
Yeah.
That's before they had 3-phase lines. Every line was 240. So yeah. That's a fur piece back.
No, but after every one of these major storm events, you have changes. After Andrew, after Katrina, you always see people realize that they need to start doing something a little different, maybe not building in those areas again.
Well, that could happen too. Or if you're going to build them like that house in Florida down there that survived 200 mm-hmm. mile an hour winds. 2 years ago, the home builders put out an article on the 250 mile an hour house. And the 250 mile an hour house was built all out ICF foundations.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And they use a process down there where they have slivers of steel that's in their concrete. We can't use that in North Carolina. We still have to use rebar.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've ever dealt with fiberglass fibers in your concrete, this does the same thing. They're probably about 2 inches long, probably a 30 seconds of an inch thick, high temp steel. And when they pour the whole foundation or pour the ICFs full, they're full of this so they're interlaced like fiberglass.
Well, like my dad always said, it doesn't take all that much more to go first class. You know, if you spend that money up front, you're going to have something after it's said and done.
Well, that's it. And I think the biggest problem we have here is everybody knows that when somebody from Florida comes buys a house 5 years later, they're gone. They sell it. Okay. Construction costs, yes, they're higher. Labor's cheaper than it is in Florida, but a lot's cheaper. You know, go to Florida and a half acre, 60, 70,000. Now that's just speculation on my part. And then they come up here and buy a lot on Beach Mountain. That's a half acre for 25,000, you know. Last year I got presented a set of plans for Beach Mountain. The elevation on the house was about 5,600 foot on top. On that plateau, they opened up a new section wheel up on the backside of beach. And you could tell this was a Florida designed architect house or engineer house because he had 4-foot porches 4 inches thick all the way in concrete.
Yeah.
With an 8-inch foundation. I said, you can't build this house up here. Why not? It's designed by an engineer because they won't allow you to build it because your engineer is not meeting the 150 to 160 mile an hour wind loads.
Yeah.
And, you know, during this time, just because the top of the mountain's 150 mile an hour, 200 foot under the crest, the wind picks up in the vortex. And that's where we get our high winds that tear houses down.
Well, Pop, I want to segue real quick because obviously it's a mess there. And I mean, I think of the people that are there, just individuals that have jobs, but also, gosh, there's so many business owners there, including contractors. Heck, I think I saw Mountaineer Sheet Metals trailers all over 421 where the washout occurred. You know, where the hell does this even start to get put back together? Because, I mean, you've got people in need. Some of them don't have houses, but hell, the contractors there, some of them don't even have the businesses to even get back to work because either equipment or supplies. And then, of course, we've got just this massive displacement of people that's about to occur. Like I think we saw College Place Apartments there near the Walmart. The entire first level floor is completely gone. And those are all college students, many of which probably just started going to college about a month ago. I mean, from putting it back together, where the hell does it go?
I don't, you know, it's going to take years. And, you know, the reason it's going to take years is we do not have the workforce up here. You know, everybody comes to Boone. I need you to come tomorrow and give me an estimate. Well, I can't. When can you start work? A year from now. A lot of contractors are already a year behind. And it's because there's not a workforce.
Yeah, but also not to mention there's not enough housing to displace. Hell, there was never enough housing, 5 days ago. And now there's a massive, call it, displacement of individuals that, I don't even think there's space. And heck, I know that's just one community. You keep traveling down the mountains to places like Chimney Rock and, Bakersfield and Spruce Pine. It's the same thing. It's spanning, a good 2.5 hours down the mountain. All the communities are seeing the same thing. So, I mean, where the hell does that start getting fixed?
I have no idea. I tell you what, it's going to be overwhelming for everybody. Like I said, it's workforce. I really, I don't want to be political, but No Child Left Behind took everybody out of the construction field. I was on the education committee 5-6 years trying to get to Watauga County when they were going to phase out the vocational classes and put them in college. I'm going, no, if you don't find these kids in 7th and 8th grade to get in these construction fields, you've almost guaranteed they're going to quit school. And so now the system will allow a kid to graduate when he's a junior and go to Caldwell Community College and not have to retake all the classes, English and math again. If you pass that test going in, you got the smarts to go ahead and take the class and be somebody, plumbers, electricians, heating and air people like that, they have to have 2,000 hours in class.
Mm-hmm.
They have to have 2,000 hours on the job before they can even apply for their test. And then the contractor has to sign off for them. But you hire a guy for $15, never picked up a hammer, and somebody offers for 15 a quarter, he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's picked up a hammer and put a tool belt on. He's a carpenter and don't know a damn thing. How about a 3-4 letter word there?
That's all right. We can keep it PG-13 here. Our last guest went ahead and elevated us to the rated R level after talking about haters on the internet. So it was pretty funny. But, well,
prices. Now, our federal government just raised their tariffs to Canada 14.28% on framing materials. What is that going to do? And we get ready to have the longshoremen strike on the East Coast.
Yep.
And a lot of materials coming overseas. To give you an idea, the Thermal True door is a steel door that Lowe's built, okay? And you get a 6-foot patio door that was $399 about 5 years ago. I checked the price here a couple of weeks ago, and that door was right at about $1,800. Then, because I got one of the vets needs a door, but 3 years ago we actually found one at Lowe's for $599, and it took it Tennessee to a job, and then that's one that's $1,800. Then the Genwell door was $1,100. Then turned right around the next week and they'd lowered it to $666. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of bait and switching going on in the construction industry today.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's what I call it, because it's not consistent anything.
Well, based on that, I know you, and I will pick on you a little bit before the show. We mentioned that you and Mom are on the Shaun of the Dead emergency plan. And for those that are listening, the movie Shaun of the Dead, when the zombie apocalypse hit, the first thing they did, the safest place and the smartest thing they could ever do, was take up shop at the local pub. So you and Mom, I say this with a degree of love, you've been there at the VFW, and I'm sorry, what's the post number?
7031.
Yeah, and obviously there wasn't even power when you got there, right? But there were folks there, trying to, get inside and things like that. And I know you guys slept in the truck in the parking lot one night.
That was Friday night. But yeah, we are both officers of the auxiliary.
Yeah. And speaking of which, have you heard from any of the other VFWs? I know just communication is so sparse. Heck, we're lucky to even be able to get an internet, signal to be able to have this show today. But
well, the only thing we don't hear anything from the outside counties. It's just like people take pictures of their house, and if they come to town to try to get groceries, then they post their pics on Facebook. And that's how we're seeing a lot of it. Erica, she lives in Ashe County, and she's showing a lot of damage over there. And people are just trying to dig out. And if they can't dig out, they're cleaning out.
mm-hmm.
And what scares me is, just like Asheville down there, there's people down there, they're going to need a lot of food, just like here. We're nowhere big as Asheville. And we're lucky that the college closed and sent the college kids home.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. That's good to hear, whether or not they went home. I couldn't imagine being a parent from out of town, seeing that, not being able to communicate. Whew, man, what a mess.
You ought to see there in front of the house. You'll see 105. They're trying to close 105, do that work. So we got all that traffic coming in front of the house there coming to 421. And it was really bad when 421 was shut down. And see, that's what got us in trouble was we went 105 after I knew I had it cleaned out, and we could not re-enter back. They wouldn't allow us.
Mm-hmm.
And so Boone Mountain was packed up.
Mm-hmm.
And we have stoplights that are out. And, stuff like that makes me cuss, because these people get a line of traffic that goes all the way through instead of doing like a 3-way stop or a 4-way stop or letting people in and out. You know, it's like pulling out of 194 or at 8 o'clock in the morning. People stop and let the car out. Every other car out. So traffic keeps moving. It's not doing it now.
Wow. Well, Pop, I know you guys are at the VFW and you're cooking meals for folks, things like that. You know, just through your channels, I'm going to put this in the show descriptions, a list of, you know, different links if you're wanting to donate and, you know, help out. Please do it through some of these secured sources, not some random person on Venmo saying, "Hey, send me money." Now, granted, if it is the direct individual, yes, but I mean, what are some of the ways people can help just in the immediate? I know that's a broad question to
Well,
ask.
see, we've never ever asked for money, you know. So if Spencer was here, then I could find out and see if they have a way that people can donate. You know, Taz is working with the disabled veterans of North Carolina to try to get generators up here for people that's on oxygen that doesn't have any power. So we're trying to find these people. We're trying to use the basement for storage, bringing stuff in. So if people need supplies, that we can get that to them. You know, when Louisville or Kentucky got washed out a couple of years ago, the town of Boone got together and they donated clothing, dishes, stuff like that. And Chuck drove it up there. Him and another veteran took a 16-foot trailer up there packed full of clothes and stuff and food to give to people, dry goods and stuff. Samaritan's Purse would probably be a good one to work on. First Baptist Church. But as far as, I'll have to see what I can do about donating directly to the VFW.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll take it because I'd say we're going to get swamped Saturday because we're feeding free. So.
Yeah, obviously there's no grocery stores around to be able to really. Well, are the grocery stores even back open? Any of them?
Yeah, they're open, but cash only.
Yeah. So back to the catch-22.
Yeah, believe it or not, Publix open first.
Okay.
And
Wow.
they actually had a guy standing out front the day we went there, and he said, "I'm sorry, we're closed." And the reason everybody was closed was they didn't have any water, so there really wasn't ample protection to try to be clean. Boone, a lot of places, well, 2 water lines broke in Boone. So they're not telling you not to drink the water. So the restaurants are, you know, they can use the water if they sanitize it, you know, for cleaning and stuff. But they're giving canned soft drinks out and stuff like that for people to drink. Bottled water. And that's going to be a big one for these people out in the county's water. And, you know, we're just, your mama was fortunate enough that she got up a bunch of water so we could have water to drink. You know, she's cussed me about that 40-gallon beer kettle I got out in the driveway. Well, I had 40-gallon of rainwater in it. We could use that to flush the toilet.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. Well, now we'll make it your prized possession this Christmas when we're over there, you know, revisiting.
You can fill it up with George Dickel. I don't really drink much beer anymore.
Well, yeah, and folks on the list here, I mean, we've got Operation Airdrop out of Concord, North Carolina. Samaritan's Purse, obviously headquartered in Boone, North Carolina, with a link. United Way, North Carolina. The Salvation of the Carolinas. Everything down to the disaster relief funds and the links. So if you can get on there, obviously, that's another thing is I know there's a big influx of people wanting to come in and help, which is just creating more kind of influx of people there. But I know that that's really where we're at right now because, gosh, there's still so many people just haven't been able to communicate. And
it is. Matter of fact, just like now, you know, I've been texting with past clients, Mrs. Kendall, you know, they're in South Carolina. Jimmy and Beth's in Raleigh. Well, Jimmy's in Raleigh. Beth's over in Fleetwood. And she got landlocked because the river's up above the road on both ends. Couldn't get out. So I don't know what damage is over there. And which they'll let me know. But it's just hard to navigate. And you know what really bothers me a lot too? And I'm a fast driver because I work for a living. But the point of it is, some of these people don't work for a living. They're flying and they're going to cause more accidents by just taking a few minutes' time.
Yeah. Well, Pop, it's good to see you, and I'm glad you're doing well. And Terry, thanks for your little jab about the, you know, obviously the way the genes and the chromosomes fell. You know, obviously I don't look like Burt's Bees, but, you know,
I may get there
Happy to help out.
eventually. I don't know if I.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know what happened to him. Him and Adam both. And growing up on a farm, and we raised chickens, they must not use enough chicken shit on their face to fertilize them whiskers.
Well, Pop, I love you. Glad everybody's okay. Obviously, keep us posted. I'll put some posts out about food being out for this Saturday for folks that need it. But otherwise, folks, I know this has been an unusual episode, but please look in the links in the descriptions. If you can help out, please do through one of those links that particularly helps, either the individuals in those local areas, but obviously any way you can, supplies, anything. So other than that, guys, I know it's been bittersweet. Another Beers with Contractor episode. And I will see you guys next week. Thanks.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Beers with Contractors. We hope you enjoyed our chat as much as we did. Before we say our final goodbyes, a friendly reminder. Beers with Contractors encourages responsible drinking. If you choose to enjoy a beverage during our time together, please do so in moderation and only if you're of legal drinking age in your country or state. Furthermore, the advice and insights shared in this podcast are for informational purposes only. Always consult with professionals and experts in your field, and be sure to follow local laws and regulations regarding licensing and permits. We're here to help, entertain, and inspire, but your safety and compliance are important. So, as you head out into the world of construction and contracting, remember to build responsibly and make decisions that stand the test of time. Thanks for joining us today. We'll catch you on the next episode of Beers with Contractors. Until then, cheers to your success.